Salutations and welcome, friends. My name is Matthew DeSantis, and I'm joined, as always, by my trusty colleague, Kaylie Shapiro, here on the road to the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks on NYRA Bets. Make sure to press that like button and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure to share. We're going to be covering the late pick 5 at Colonial Downs on Saturday, highlighted, of course, by the Virginia Oaks and the Virginia Derby. Kaylie and I are going to give you her thoughts on that. But Kaylie, before we get started with handicapping Saturday, I got a question. How is the weather up in New York this weekend?
Well, it was rainy today, pretty rainy today. So that was a little, bit of a rainy, dreary day, hanging out, looking at this card, and then saw that you got a bit of snow down in Virginia, which was pretty interesting. But it looks beautiful this weekend. Clear forecast.
It does, but it was a lot of snow. We got about 2 inches of snow, maybe 2.5 in some areas, out of nowhere. And it's all gone. Never fear. It's Virginia. It snowed 2 inches, and then an hour and a half later, it was like, peace out. And it's gone. So, yeah, we had some snowy conditions. Our good friend Carlos from Handicapping 305, he was at Colonial, and I felt so bad. He had his little parka. He had his hood up. He was interviewing Tyler Gaffleone, writing digital ops. So it was, it was very funny to see that. But, yeah, it was crazy to see the difference because yesterday down here in Central Virginia, it was 86 degrees, and then today it was snowing. So a little bit of a yin and a yang to the weather in Virginia, but it does look beautiful for this weekend. We are thrilled to have you here on NYRA Bets and the Road to the Derby and Oaks chat. Kaylie, you're coming down. I'm already down here in Virginia. You're coming down to meet me at Colonial Downs on Saturday. It's going to be your first time at the track.
My first time ever coming to Colonial. Figured it's worth the drive. I mean, you're already down there, one half of the Derby and Oaks duo, and figured it'd be a lot of fun to cover both of those races. I mean, I loved the card last year, and I thought that they were fun races. So I think the crew that shows up for the 2 preps this year, pretty interesting. Baffert is sending some runners, which always spices things up, but we have a lot of cool horses running. Queen Azteca, so I thought that in itself was worth the drive for me.
You love that filly. You love Queen Azteca, and I love that you love her. I think that's fantastic. We all have horses that we just fall in love with, and you fell in love with her winning that UAE Oaks last year, and then she came over and ran in the Alabama, and now she is in one of the divisions of the Sandy Bottom as it was a 2-division race. It was so big they had decided they had to run it twice. So very good stuff here. Good evening to everybody tuning in the chat. Sean, glad to see it's snowing up in southeastern Pennsylvania as well. I had a feeling I heard some folks saying that as well. New Kent County time. Indeed, we got the New Kent County Stakes. That's going to be, I think, right before the late pick 5 that we're going to cover. But that's got Dragoon Guard, who's a heavy favorite in there. A lot of people might single that one to start off the pick 6. Going to be really interesting to see. I do just want to acknowledge this at the get-go because I do see a few comments here in the chat from Dennis Trusty offering condolences, James as well. I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, my mom passed away earlier this week. I've been down here in Virginia taking care of her the last 2 months. And first of all, I just want to thank NYRA Bets and Kaylie as well for being so flexible with everything during that time and being able to create content and do my job while I'm down here remotely. It was a real blessing. And trust me, doing these live streams was a real respite from some of the other things that I was going on in my life. So I love doing these. My mom, she loved horse racing. We went to the Virginia Derby back when it was raced on the turf a couple of years ago. She loved Irad Ortiz Jr. She loved gray horses. This Saturday, I'm betting every gray and I'm betting everything I rides on if he's riding because he, of course, suffered a little bit of a fall today at Gulfstream Park. Latest indications are he said he was okay, but did have some soreness in his hip. Still awaiting test results there. So, listen, appreciate everybody who's reached out, though, over the last 24, 48 hours. Really does mean the world to me. Really appreciate it, but thrilled to be here talking horses and doing it with my good friend Kaylie Shapiro. So, love doing this. And, like I said, Kaylie, if you're first time at the track, I can't wait for you to see it. The only thing I'm bummed about is you won't get to see the turf course in action. There's no turf racing on Saturday. And Colonial has a beautiful turf course. So it's a little bit of a shame that you won't be able to see that part of Colonial, but it is, you'll see it. You'll see the turf course, but it's just, man, it's a really special and it's an incredibly wide turf course. It is the widest turf course I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
It just, I mean, you could fit, you could have Royal Ascot there. I mean, they could fit 30 horses and run them down. It's really cool.
Obviously sending my condolences over to you, and it's just amazing the community that horse racing has and the fact that you're able to find some comfort through talking about the races and everyone has your back, and excited to be talking about this sequence with you. I thought it was a really fun sequence and it's going to be a great day at the track, turf course or not. We know that bottle of Rouge is a gray, so
yeah, we do.
Should probably bet a pretty big wager on her on Saturday.
Absolutely. And trained by a fellow who has some gray white hair. But we'll talk about Bob Baffert a little bit later. We got people tuning in from over in the UK. Want to know if the Cheltenham Festival has been getting much coverage on our side of the ocean. It has. I can't say that it's been getting a lot of popular coverage in terms of, television views and things like that. But definitely, if you log on Twitter, there's a lot of people who are following along with the racing over there at the festival, and definitely something that a lot of us enjoy watching during the early parts of our day as we get things going there. So love UK racing. Love Euro racing as much as I possibly can consume. I do. So definitely have a lot there to talk about. But listen, we got a late pick 5 sequence on Saturday at Colonial Downs. And I got 2 things to tell people. Before we dive into this sequence, I got 2 things I got to say. One is, if you're not playing with NYRA Bets, we got a deal for you. And if you are playing with NYRA Bets, we got a deal for you. If you're not playing with NYRA Bets yet, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, we got an offer for you. And it's only for those of you who are watching right now live. And this is good until Saturday post time. But it's only for the folks who are watching this and consuming this. We're just letting you guys know about this promo. Nobody else is getting this information. If you go to racing.nyrabets.com/sign-up bonus/live20, use the promo code live20, you get a free $20 bet. You get free $20. You don't have to, no deposit match bonus or anything like that. You just get free $20, live20. So use that promo code live20. And one of the horses, Kaylie tells me in this promo picture, is Cadabra. And abracadabra, we're going to put $20 in your NYRA Bets account if you sign up with us. So it's a little bit of a magic trick there. So make sure to use that promo code live20 to sign up on NYRA Bets. Now, Kaylie, one of the things that people always say to us is, Matthew, Kaylie, what about those of us who already are NYRA Bets customers? They want a little something for the effort. I don't blame them. Well, we got something called a Derby Bankroll Builder this weekend, don't we?
Yes, and Derby Bankroll Builder, I know that this is literally you sign up and you get a free 20. Derby Bankroll Builder is sort of the same, except you have to bet 50 on one horse in the Virginia Derby. We do this every year. You can collect a free $20 in each leg that we selected for the Derby Bankroll Builder and go into the Derby with an extra $100 in your pocket. So all you have to do is bet 50 to win on one horse. I know I have mine. Sure, you have yours. So I'm excited to participate in that because you get the bonus win or lose. So
absolutely. You get the bonus win or lose. So listen, if you're not playing already, use that promo code live20. Sign up, you get a free $20. If you're already playing on NYRA Bets, opt in on Saturday to that Derby Bankroll Builder. You get $50 to win on a horse of your choosing in the Virginia Derby. If the horse wins, winner, chicken dinner, we add $20 to your winnings. And if the horse loses, hey, guess what? You got a little bit of a bailout. You're still going to get $20 no matter what. And we're going to have that each and every week from now until the end of the month. And so, listen, definitely want to make sure to opt in and play those Derby prep races on NYRA Bets. By the way, just want to say, just because I want people to know I'm not trying to omit or not harp on their comments. I see a lot of the comments in the chat. Thank you very, very much, everybody who has dropped some of those comments in the chat towards me. And I do want to just say, James, that's very cool. He said, if I hit the late pick 5, I'll donate the winnings to a charity of Matt's choice that his mom would appreciate. James, I will say it is the Louisa County Animal Shelter. Louisa County Animal Shelter in Virginia. I will put a little comment to that in the chat a little bit later, but that is definitely the charity of her choice. She's got a little miniature dachshund named Freya, who is a little pisser, and she's something else, but she's doing okay too. So listen, let's talk about some racing though, because we got a sequence. And I do want to bring up Penn State Scott's point here. He goes, do we expect the track to be as fast as last year's Virginia Derby 3-day event? Because Kaylie, it was blistering last year. American Promise just ran them off their feet in that Virginia Derby last year up on the front end. And so, it'll be interesting with all the weather, whether or not it plays as fast come Saturday.
Well, I definitely want to pay attention to the card tomorrow and how everything plays out, because I think that'll also be a better tell of how the track will be playing. I mean, today there was a bit of weather in Virginia.
A bit,
so
yes.
definitely want to pay attention to how the track is playing tomorrow. But last year, American Promise really did run them off their feet. I thought that was a cool race. The horse is actually back in training. Just a bit of news for everybody. So that's also exciting that horse is returning soon, I'd imagine.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Carlos tuning in from Northern Virginia. He said it snowed there today as well. Yeah, man, it was snowing all over Virginia in the mid-Atlantic. So it was just kind of crazy. And luckily here, it already has melted. And Kaylie, to your point, it's going to be nice tomorrow, nice on Saturday. So I agree with you. Paying attention to how it plays tomorrow, I think, will be key, because we're not expecting any more weather between now and post-time Saturday. So I would imagine, and the other thing to keep in mind, and we've seen this at Aqueduct, even if there's a little bit of a bias the day after the storm, usually track maintenance crews are able to get things corrected that second day, as long as there's not additional winter weather. So I'd expect it to be a relatively fair track, though the main track at Colonial does have a reputation of being pretty speed favoring, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and the configuration. But listen, let's dive into this 5-race sequence, starting with race number 6 on the card. And this is the first of 2 divisions of the Sandy Bottom Stakes, going a mile for 4-year-old fillies and mares. It's a 1-turn mile, a race so nice they had to run it twice. And so they have 2 fields of 7, which actually makes it pretty manageable, I think, from a betting standpoint and from a handicapping standpoint. Your morning line favorite is the number 1 Passage East. Kaylie, I don't know about you, but I kind of want to beat this horse, and I think there's a few ways you can go to do it.
I completely agree. I'm trying to beat this horse here too. At first glance, she does look pretty tough, and she is. I mean, she's your morning line favorite, but also she'll have to go a mile. I know that she was able to get a mile actually last year in August in the summer at Colonial Downs. But if you think about it, there's going to be some other fillies, I think, up on the front end and could run her off her feet. I don't really see her making up ground on some fillies here that I think should sit a better trip, and she's not the fastest horse in here. So I do think that you can beat her for sure in here, and I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think you can too. Hugh McMahon, a good horseman, but only 2 for 35, I want to say, in stakes races over the last 5 years. Now, granted, she is one of them, just coming off that victory in the Barbara Fritchie, but I am a little concerned because that 93 buyer really has come out of nowhere. I mean, all of her other numbers are low 80s, high 70s, and that's very much so puts her in line with literally everyone else in this field. So if you think she can run back to the 93 while going a mile, sure, but 2-1 just seems like a short price. And you were the one to point out, we don't just have one Busanda winner on the card. Obviously, Dazzling Dame, who we'll talk about in Virginia Oaks. We have 2, because we have the number 3 in this race running away for Wesley Ward, who won the Busanda last year and did so in gate to wire fashion, coming off the bench. Hasn't run since Kentucky Downs in September. This one's, I think, a little bit interesting to consider using and as a win contender in this spot.
Oh, 100%. I'm using her here. I thought about singling her a little bit, but I did want to try to catch a price. I do think there are some interesting horses in here that you could catch at a price, but she is one of the shorter priced horses. I think that 5-2 I would take on running away, but I would never take 2-1 on the number 1 that we talked about. But running away is more so a lightly raced filly. And if you look at the races where she's on the dirt, and she's going 1.16 miles, and she's on or close to the lead. She runs really well, and she consistently runs, 78 to 81 there. And I think she can take a step forward. Clearly, she's training well. This is not an aggressive spot off the bench. She's graded stakes tested and won a listed stakes before, so I don't think it'll be too much for her, but they could have easily run her an allowance and they placed her here. So I do think that she's ready to go, and she looks really tough here, and it's good to see that her rider's coming out to ride her as well. So I really like her here.
Yeah, Victor Espinoza coming out for the mount, and there is a lot to like, and I feel like she's a horse that I've always wanted to see her cut back to a one-turn mile. I just think that's where she's going to be her best. And interestingly enough, this is actually the first time she's going to be doing that, because I feel like she's done it before, but she hasn't. There's so many Western World horses that are kind of like this, and she has outstanding speed. She's probably just going to get up to the front end and see how far she can go. Wesley Ward is outstanding getting horses ready off the bench. So I'm not worried about the long layoff at all. He's always so strong in these types of spots. She seems like a real serious threat in this race. A horse I am not going to be taking off my late pick 5 ticket for sure in this particular spot. And, her speed figures aren't overwhelming in terms of, an 81 being a career high. I could imagine that she's going to run maybe even a little bit better than that. And as you mentioned, a very lightly raced filly, still just turning 4 years old. And Kaylie, maybe that we should have a drinking game about this for the people watching the live stream. We're 17 minutes in, and I'm going to say it. ABGR. Always bet gun runner. That's right. She's a gun runner. What are we doing, folks? Let's not overthink this. So I think, running away, yes, she's certainly, I think, very, very dangerous in this spot.
She definitely is, and I also love the cutback in distance for her. It's really funny. I just remembered this as we're talking about her. I mean, she was a horse that was in the Oaks conversation last year, and I remember after she ran in the Busanda, thinking in my head, she got away with getting that distance, 1.125 miles, because she went gate to wire there, and she was able to really control things. But if you think about it, this is her distance. I remember thinking it when she was on the Oaks Trail. I hope they cut her back eventually. So I'm excited to see her placed here. I think she's going to run really well on Saturday.
I think she is too. And James agrees. He goes, listen, I'm going 3-6. We're going to talk about the 6 here in a minute. But yeah, I think it's pretty simple. And yeah, let's keep it simple here with Carlos Warren. And John asked, who's training American Promise now? It is Steve Asmussen. And I believe Kaylie.
I believe
Steve Asmussen putting in works down at Fairgrounds, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, with owners that have a lot of horses with Asmussen. So that's why I thought probably him. But
I see Penn State Scott. Also saying Steve Asmussen. So so that's we'll see if American Promise returns to the track. Of course, we remember there's a horse, Bourbon Bash, was a Dwayne Lucas horse. Went to Steve Asmussen, came back from a 16-month layoff and won a stakes race. By the way, Bourbon Bash is running this weekend in the Whitmore Stakes at Oaklawn Park, so you can check him out as well. But listen, I'm going to go down, and people know I'm Italian. My last name, I'm not going to hide it. DeSantis, I might only be 25% Italian genetically, but from my last name, my big nose, and my skin color, I got a lot of it. So Amalfi Drive is a horse I very much so like because my family's not all too far from the Amalfi Coast. 12 to 1 on the morning line for Michael Stidham. Kaylie, I'll be honest, I really like this horse a lot. And this horse has really good speed. I know this is a little bit of a test, but the horse has won off Lasix before, so I'm not worried about that. Fourth back from a really long layoff. I don't know. This horse, I think, at a price is a little interesting.
100%. And I'm more Italian than you. So I think I'm all in on Amalfi Drive here. And I definitely think the cut back to a one-turn mile is really going to suit this filly. And she also broke her maiden. She won her second start at Colonial Downs.
Yeah.
So that's also good to see, a win over the track and good connections here. I think that she has good speed, and the cutback in distance is pretty perfect for her.
I agree. The 5 Brown Sugar, I'm not really sure. The dirt is her friend. I kind of went past. I don't know. Did you want to say anything about her? I didn't know.
Yeah, I used the 3, 4, 5, and the 7 here. Those are the horses that I used
Okay.
on my ticket. So the 5 here, Brown Sugar, I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, if you look at it, she showed better speed or broke a little better on the dirt than she has on in her turf efforts that she's run recently.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give her another shot here. She gets a big, big jockey riding her, Flavian Pratt.
Sure.
Safi won 1 or 2 today,
Yeah, he did. I
maybe
think he might have
more.
won three,
So
actually. He won a lot. Yeah, he did well.
so he's clearly the horses he's sending here are running pretty well, and I thought she was an interesting horse at a bigger price to include, as well as the number 4 that we have at a
Yeah,
bigger
Malfi
price
Drive.
too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, number 6, Chasen, is a horse that very interesting. I would say very similar in some ways to a horse like the number 4, Amalfi Drive, and that lightly raced. 4-1. We'll see about Irad Ortiz Jr. and whether or not he rides. Even if everything is okay with Irad, a lot of times when you suffer a fall like this, you have some pain. You're still taking off mounts for a day or two. We know Irad is about as tough as they come in terms of guys who put on, slip into the irons every day. But we'll see. This one's for Brad Cox. Again, very similar to Amalfi Drive in that this horse has one off Lasix, but is now switching back off after facing Allowance Company, coming off a little bit of a freshening, hasn't run since mid-January. Obviously, you got to trust the connections here. You weren't sold, though, on this horse at 4-1.
I left this horse off my ticket, going to try to beat her here. Coming in off, I mean, not that significant of a layoff, but she's a little light in the figures. I mean, she has to switch off Lasix. There's just a few questions I have here. And also, I think that there's some fillies that are going to show better speed and just end up sitting a better trip than her in here.
I hear you on that. And so, by the way, all this talk about Italians getting James hungry. He goes, "Can someone make me carbonara? I'm getting hungry." We're talking about Italy too much and all the good stuff there. Want to say hello to Alex right at the wire. I hope you are doing well, my friend. RoboCop here loves Amalfi Coast and Capri, wishing Irad a full recovery. Absolutely, he is a warrior.
Mhm.
So many of these great riders are. It's amazing what they put their bodies through every single day. And listen, it's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday. But listen, there's one more horse that we do want to talk about here, Chasen. And I like Chasen a little bit. My biggest concern with this horse is just the way the track plays and the way the trip plays out. And if there's not as much speed up on the front end and it's a little bit
Mhm.
speed favoring, she's a filly that comes from off the pace. I could see her making a run and maybe flattening out and maybe just not quite getting there. And so I do worry about that. I know she has that one race with a little bit of speed, but traditionally she's sitting towards the back of the field.
And especially when you have a lot of fillies in here that are cutting back to what I believe and we believe are their ideal distance.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
that's what's going to make it a little bit more difficult for her too.
Well, there's one filly who we're trying to figure out what her ideal distance is, and that's number 7, Her Laugh, for Riley Mott. I like this horse a lot, and she's a practical joke. And if you just look at the numbers, she's run some decent races since coming back from a pretty extensive layoff when she was with Whit Beckman. Now she's with Riley. The problem is she really hasn't done much. I mean, she finished second in that big allowance optional claimer off the bench. Then she ran 5th in the La Brea, but was really not a factor at all. She seems to have lost all of her speed, and she was sitting almost dead last in the inside information. Ended up making a run to finish 4th that day. The only thing I am heartened by is you see bullet, bullet, bullet leading up to this race. I think Riley Mott's trying to get that speed back into her. If she can show that speed, she's really interesting at 9-2, and she might even float up from there.
She's extremely interesting at 9-2. I have her on my ticket here. She's a filly that showed a lot of talent in 2025, a decent amount of talent. She had a lot of potential when she first started running and hit the racetrack. And now she's with Riley Mott. And we understand that her journey back to we knew it would take some time for her to come into her best form. But if you look, she's a filly that's just been improving as a 4-year-old now, which was kind of expected with her return to the racetrack. She's been training really well. She has 3 bullet works coming into this. Johnny V's aboard. I have a very strong feeling that this filly's going for the lead, or she's going to try to rate but I think she's going to be pretty close, and she might even try to control things up on the front end. I'm just looking at who he has riding and those 3 bullet works coming in here, and also knowing that there was a time that she did show a bit of speed. So clearly
Yeah.
they're working with her in the mornings to try to get her to show that same speed. I still think she's dangerous, whether she gets the lead or not. And I do think the fact that she's just going 1 turn isn't that big of a deal either for the distance. So her work pattern's interesting to me, and thought she was dangerous at 9-2. I think that's pretty good value.
I think she's very dangerous at 9-2. I like her a lot. I think if she can get that speed back, that's something Acacia Clement and I talked about, because we talked about this inside information stakes on Snowbirds a couple months ago when she ran. And Acacia said, she goes, gosh, I just get so skittish on betting horses when they lose their speed. She goes, even if the end result isn't bad, when they lose that speed and they just can't seem to get it back, I just worry, especially the fillies and mares, that they've just lost their form. And it's heartening to me to see that she made that run in the inside information, sitting last and then making that run to get to 4th, I thought was positive. And then the fact that you see these bullets, and the fact that, listen, Riley, if we thought she lost a step, he could have easily put her into an allowance optional claimer somewhere, put her back on Lasix, gotten her maybe in a little bit of an easier spot. The fact that he continues to run her in stakes races tells me he thinks there's still something there.
Yeah, and it's not like she's a filly that had blistering speed at one point and then just lost all of it. Like, she's a filly that never really had crazy speed. She had decent, but that one race that she ran up on the front end, I mean, they were pedestrian fractions. So
That's true.
It's not really like she was ever a blistering fast horse. And I think that, to be honest, if you're going to throw off one filly in here off your ticket, you could play against her. It's not like I really think that you're messing up your ticket by leaving her off. I just think that at 9-2, she's really interesting. And if you look at it, she's been running up against some tough horses. She's coming out of 2 graded stakes races. Those are the 2 races that she's coming out of as a 4-year-old. And I know that they had high expectations for her return, and also a good friend sold her. So definitely rooting for her, but I think she's a really nice filly.
Absolutely rooting for her. And I'll give you one last tidbit. Listen, I love my statistics, and I love quoting Mark Twain, that there are 3 types of lies: damned lies, and statistics. You can make them say whatever you want. Johnny V and Riley Mott, career 0 for 15. Johnny V has never won aboard a Riley Mott horse. Listen, I really like her, and she's on my ticket too. So I'm not knocking everything you said. I completely agree, and we are in lockstep with that. I think that her laugh looks really tough in this spot, but I do think the number 3 running away is the horse to beat in this one.
100%.
Let us move on to the second division of the Sandy Bottom, race number 7 on the card. Hey, guess what? We're still going a mile. It's still for 4-year-old and up fillies and mares. And here's your girlfriend. Here's your girl, Queen Azteca. You're the horse you rationally love. You watched her once in the UAE Oaks. You looked at her past performances. You said, what the hell is a horse that starts its career running on the turf in Norway doing in the UAE Oaks? She is a really cool horse. She's got a huge female family, Phipps family. Kaylie, you really like this one. And this seems like actually a pretty reasonable spot for her.
This is the toughest that she's looked in any of her starts so far in the U.S. So, yes, I have a little bit of favoritism towards her, but when I first heard she was running, I was like, all right, she's probably 20-1 in some race. You know what I mean? And then when I looked, she looks tough in this spot, and she's 5-1 on the morning line. You do have some tough customers in here. Start with the morning line favorite, the number 6 for Safi Joseph.
Yeah.
I included her on my ticket. I just use these 2. I just use these 2 fillies here. Maybe I catch a price with Queen Azteca, but I do have the morning line favorite who looks awfully tough here. But as for Queen Azteca, she's cutting back to a mile. That's her ideal distance, in my opinion. Like you said, she comes from a ginormous family. Her two best races, in my opinion, are going a mile distance. And she won the Cocoa Beach Stakes. I know it was over in the UAE, but she won it by 8 lengths. That's really when we saw a big improvement from her. So I think, she should get some more pace. And if you look at it, the one race that she has run here that's been her best race is in the Pippin Stakes at Oaklawn. And she was, she showed better speed there, and she also finished the race better, and she got more pace there than she did in any of the other races. So I think she'll have some pace, and I think that the cut back to a mile should really suit her here. And she's getting blinkers on, so I do think she'll be forwardly placed, and I think she'll set a nice trip.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the comments that are going on in the chat, because you got Dennis Trusty who says the 6 is my single and key to exactas and tries. Penn State Stock says the 6 is vulnerable. And then James goes, I'm betting against the Queen. We're going to see what happens. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions in this race. I agree with you.
It's a good race.
It is a good race. I agree with you that this is the toughest she has looked in a spot yet. Where I thought, hey, she's got a real shot in this particular race. The blinkers coming on, breaking from the inside rail. Christian Torres will obviously have to navigate that a little bit, but with the blinkers on, maybe she shows a little bit more speed, gets away in more of a pocket trip, maybe hasn't given herself too much to do, doesn't have to rely on that blistering pace maybe to melt down, and can still make a little bit of a run. I agree with you. I think the turn back to a 1-turn mile is ideal for her. Like her a lot in this particular spot. We should talk about the number 6, Eunomia, who is by Tiz the Law, and you pointed out has a half sibling who is running 2 races later. That's right. This is the half sibling to Confessional, who's running in the Virginia Derby. I mean, that's pretty incredible to have 2 siblings running on the same card.
Really cool. 2 Busanda winners and 2 and siblings. So
2 siblings. Pretty cool stuff. But this one's for Safi, coming in from a 3rd place effort in the Grade 3 Royal Delta, going a mile and a 16th. And I don't know, Kaylie, this one also feels like, man, the cut back to a 1-turn mile should hit this horse right between the eyes. I just think this one makes a ton of sense with a lot of speed.
Oh, absolutely. I think that the cutback really suits this horse. Clearly runs really well up on the lead, and that's exactly where she's going. Safi won a few races today. She gets Flavian Pratt aboard. She was a must include on my ticket. Definitely the horse to beat here. I do think, I want to take a shot with a filly that's going to come from off the pace, or at least sitting pretty close, because Queen Azteca is more tactical now than I think she ever was. Going to have some pace to run into, but don't get it twisted. I mean, this filly is the horse to beat here, and she's 6-5, short price, but I think that's actually a decent price on her in this spot.
I think so too. And listen, she tired going a mile and a 16th, and she tired against better competition. I mean, when you're running against Grade 3 competition versus this, it's going to be a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit tougher. I actually think she might have drawn the easier of the 2 divisions. I think the other field was maybe a little bit deeper and would have been a little bit tougher for her. I think in this particular field, she's pretty good in this particular spot. Now, a horse that I think is pretty interesting, there's 2 horses. The 3 and the 4 are interesting. I didn't end up using either. I see James in the comment talking about the 3 and 4 kind of being interested in terms of value. And I do think the 4, I just don't know if I trust that last number. And because the 4, Contrived Rice, second off the layoff, I know you could, it was a little bit of a freshening. It wasn't that long of a layoff, but second back, runs an absolute hole in the wind and wins by 10 at Fairgrounds with Lasix. Now is coming back, but every other number this horse has ever run on the dirt is nowhere near good enough to win here. Maybe everything's finally clicked with this 4-year-old, but again, I don't know how much people are going to put value on that one number. And from a construction standpoint, I just couldn't get there with her.
I wish I had the space to include a third filly on my ticket, even though I do think that the morning line favorite is tough and went with a little bit of a price too. But
Yeah.
the four, I'm not going to trust that 92 just because it kind of came out of nowhere. I know she ran a good race, but I mean, she
Yeah.
can beat me here if she runs anything close to that. Actually, besides the three and the four, a price I was interested in was the five. I think she looks really interesting here. Miss Authentic for
Yeah.
Eddie Keneally. This is a filly that, you know, sits close to the pace. She's not going to be up on the lead, but if things fall apart or she happens to be, you know, sit a nice trip and she gets
Yeah.
Johnny V aboard too, I think she's going to be pretty dangerous. And if you look back, she broke her maiden at Colonial. She
Yeah.
got the lead that day and she ran pretty fast. So I think
Yeah.
that she could be dangerous out of any of the bigger prices here. She's the one I like, Miss Authentic.
Yeah, no, I think she's a little bit interesting. I do think the three's a little bit interesting. I took a long look at Think Fast, 6-1 for Hugh McMahon. Hazelwood up on the mount. This one's coming off a pretty big effort last time out, and an optional claiming 40. Does have a one run without Lasix and ran decently at a stakes race in Laurel, going 7, stretching out to a mile on dirt for the first time. We'll see. There is plenty to like here. Candy Ride out of a tap at mare. So from a pedigree standpoint, there's, like I said, plenty to like about that. And then a lightly raced horse too. So, always a little bit of upside with that regard. Want to give a shout out to Felipe Hernandez Jr. He goes, "Hi Cappers, thanks so much for the info. Helps me narrow down my pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s, and said that you and I are a weekly staple." So Felipe, thank you so much for tuning in every single week for us. And yeah, listen, that's what we try to do with these shows. We give you our opinions, we give you how we're going to play it. As I always say, though, the most important opinion is yours.
Mm-hmm.
And how you want to play this sequence is the most important thing. Hey, maybe we give you an idea. Maybe we sit there and talk about a horse that you hadn't really thought about. You take a second look at and go, you know something? Maybe that one's worth including on a pick 3, pick 4, pick 5. Or, hey, maybe I should I was already a little on the fence about this one, and both Matthew and Kaylie don't like it. Maybe I decide to fade and go the other way. Whatever it is, we hope we connect you to some winners. We have a pretty good track record of being at least helping out people with that sort of thing. So always enjoy it. And yeah, listen, this race, I kept it pretty simple. I just went 1-6. I think I actually singled to 6 here. I know you just went 1-6. I think this one might be a little easy, but we will see. And before we get to the next race, which is the Virginia Oaks, I want to remind everybody watching, we got over 150 people watching. Really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube. We got a lot of great content. We had a first look at the Virginia Oaks Virginia Derby. I'm going to have capping the card, going through all 10 races at Colonial on Saturday. I also have a video. We have a video up with myself and Megan Burgess going over the Whitmore on Saturday at Oaklawn Park. So a lot of stuff for you. So make sure to press that like and subscribe button. But if you're not playing on NYRA Bets already, use that promo code LIVE20, and you can do that by just going to racing.nyrabets.com/sign-up bonus/live20. Use the promo code LIVE20, and you get a free $20 bet. All right. So if you're not playing on NYRA Bets already, make sure to use that promo code LIVE20, and you can redeem that on the NYRA Bets site and get a free $20 bet. And if you're already playing on NYRA Bets, winner, chicken dinner. We got the Derby Bankroll Builder. You bet $50, you get 20 back, win or lose, on a horse in the Virginia Derby. So make sure to opt in and play that as well. All right. Well, let's go talk about the Virginia Derby and the Virginia Oaks. And we'll start with the Virginia Oaks. And I'm just going to switch it up from a visual standpoint and use our little spiffy graphics that we've always liked to make up every week rather than squinting at the past performances. Virginia Oaks, a mile and a 16th, 50 points on the line. It's a one-turn race, something everybody needs to know. So at Colonial Downs, mile and a 16th, mile and an 8th, all one-turn races. So it's not a two-turn configuration, one-turn configuration. Field of 6. Kaylie, to me, this feels like a two-horse race. What about you?
I definitely think the Dazzling Dame and Bottle of Rouge, they're really tough here. I'm trying to beat one of them. I do think I prefer one over the other, and I just used two fillies in here. I used a short price, and I'm going to try to catch a price, hopefully, if not. But I do think Dazzling Dame, definitely start with her, the Busanda winner. I mean, her Busanda was really impressive. I will say that she dominated it, won by 11 and a half lengths that day. I don't know who she beat. I mean, she beat Two Bits. She beat Believable. Sure, Two Bits came back to win the Ruthless. Who did Two Beats beat in the Ruthless? I'm just saying. I think that she's a little
Uh-huh.
bit beatable here, in my opinion. And I do think that she has a lot of sprint influence in her female
She
family.
does. She does.
So I know that I do know that obviously it's a one turn mile and a 16th here, but still, if she
It's
has
still a mile
company
and a
up on the
16th.
front end, exactly, she still has to go that route of ground. And
Yeah.
I definitely think that there's some other fillies up here that should be forwardly placed and should either be applying pressure or ready to pounce when the time comes. So I'm trying to beat Dazzling Dame here.
Well, I respect that opinion. I disagree with it, but I respect it. And I like Dazzling Dame, and I feel like she's one of these horses that we've kind of forgotten about because she hasn't been seen since the Busanda. And we've seen these other fillies kind of come and win these subsequent prep races. And I agree. Listen, she ran a mile, so we're going to have to go a little bit longer, obviously. And it's going to be a little bit tougher in terms of the competition. It was encouraging to see Two Bits come back and win the Ruthless. And I know it might not have been much, but still, it's good to see this runner up come back and get a win against Stakes Company. Here's the thing. She ran a 90 that day. Kaylie, there's two fillies, I think, that have broken 90. And it's She Be Smooth and Explorer. And outside of that, ain't nobody running away with this thing on the Kentucky Oak side. I see a lot of fillies you and I both like. Zanny and Meaning and Bella Ballerina, they run 82, 83, 79, 83. Nobody's running a 90. And this horse has speed. You know what? You can't coach speed. You can't coach height, you can't coach speed. I think this horse is really good, and people aren't selling it. I think people are selling this horse short. I'm a fan. I like Brittany Russell. She
She's a
knows the
nice
Mid Atlantic
filly.
well. She's a good trainer. Javion Toledo, who's ridden this horse before to several victories, is back up on the mount. I like this horse a lot. I think she just takes some gate to wire, especially if the track plays anywhere near like it did last year. I'm a fan. Now, that said, I'm not crazy. Okay. Now, you might think I'm crazy when I go on my little rants about different horses sometimes, but I'm not crazy because there's a fella named Bob Baffert who's got a filly in this race, and she's a grade 1 winner. And I'd be out of my damn mind if I didn't include this horse on my ticket. So I got Battle of Rouge here too. You love Battle of Rouge. I think this might be a horse you even want to potentially single when push comes to shove. But Battle of Rouge is a horse you really like. And I do feel like this one's grown on you a little bit over time.
Definitely, she's grown on me a little over time. And to start, I definitely understand all your points on Dazzling Dame. That 90 buyer, she's a nice filly. I just think that she's beatable here, and I don't want her at 5-2 on my ticket. If I have Bottle of Rouge, who I think
That's fair.
who I think has beat way better horses, and she's 6-5. So
Yeah.
I put two fillies on here. I used the 3 and the 4. I used Cadabra too. I think she's dangerous at a price, so I would have rather went with the price. And if you subtract just 4 points off that 90, you have Bottle of Rouge, her last effort. So if Bottle of Rouge just takes one step forward, I mean, her figures are on the same par. And also, Bottle of Rouge, that 86 is the only race that she's run in 2026. So she's improving as a 3-year-old. I might have not given her enough credit looking back on it. I probably should have. She's a grade 1 winner. You know, she won the Del Mar debutante. She beat Explora that day. Explora's come back to run really well. And then if you look at when she broke her maiden, she beat Super Corridora that day. So I do think that she's been running up against, I mean, fillies that are in a complete different stratosphere. So whether they put it together on whether she puts it together on the track against another nice group, because I do think Dazzling Dame is a nice filly. I preferred Bottle of Rouge, and then I absolutely love the number 4 here too. I think that she's going to be pretty dangerous. Another filly with good speed, a filly that I think is actually going to present present an issue for the number one. So that's why I
Yeah.
left her off. And I think Cadabra's interesting at 6-1 for sure.
Well, Dennis Trusty absolutely agrees with you. He thinks he can see Cadabra being good value in this particular spot. Definitely interesting, working out well. Might try to steal it up on the front end, according to James. I agree with those things. Here's my concern about Cadabra, and I do like her. And on Captain the Card, just to tip my hand a little bit, she's my value play in this race, so I do like her quite a bit. My concern is the following. In the Suncoast Stakes, which was 1 mile and 40 yards, which is a little shorter than this. Now, granted, it was a 2-turn configuration, but still, she went 49-2 to the half and still called it quits by the 8th pole.
Going
Dazzling Game went 47-1 to the half. I mean, to me, these two fillies have completely different types of speed. That's just me. I think Cadabra is not nearly as fast as everybody thinks she is. I think she's a little dressed up with some of her efforts. I like her a little bit. I just don't think she's quite in the same class. And I don't like her at 6-1. I wish she was 8-1, 10-1. I wish she was in that range. Then maybe she'd be more interesting. I hear what everybody's saying about her, but I just can't get there on Cadabra.
She's working. She's working really well. And I definitely think, it being a 1-turn configuration is really going to help her out here for sure. And it's not, I mean, Zanny and Life of Joy, Zanny beat her and won that day. So I think she, against maybe a group that she has the opportunity to run a little better, I think, I wanted to give her another shot rather than, I want to try to catch a price if Bottle of Rouge ends up disappointing a bit. But I don't think she will. I think she's in good form and she's come back a little stronger as a 3-year-old. So
yeah, no, listen, Carlos, we're going to get to talking about Hit Parade in a second. It's going to be interesting to talk about that one, particularly with Irad potentially. His situation will, if you're just tuning in now, Irad Ortiz Jr. fell off of a horse today in the 5th race at Gulfstream Park, was briefly on a stretcher and taken to the local hospital for additional tests. He is okay by even his own admission, but he was complaining of a sore hip. We will see if he continues to ride, if he takes a day or two off, potentially, how that might change some dynamics. He's obviously Brad Cox's number one call on a lot of these races, so that's going to change some things if he's not able to go. Want to give a shout out to Craig Shore, who's signing in from Brooklyn. Just actually talked to one of my mom's neighbors who is from Brooklyn, Christy Langdon. And so that was all Brooklyn. Brooklyn's all over, whether it's here in the chat or in Gum Spring, Virginia. You got it all over the place here. And listen, a lot of people are agreeing with you here on, your kind of logic with some of these runners. And so Alex is with you here. And so going to be interesting to see how this race goes. Hit Parade, though. Let's talk about this one because I do see some comments in the chat about Hit Parade. I just can't get there on Hit Parade. She's a nice horse that I think overachieved. But there's a reason she was debuted on the turf at Horseshoe Indy and then dropped in for a claiming tag in her second start. And then she kind of ran over her head a little bit. She won a starter allowance. She somehow managed to win the Untappable over a horse like Love Your Neighbor and Passion, who are perfectly nice horses. But I feel like the Martha Washington kind of exposed her, and this is kind of who she is. I don't know. She feels more like an allowance level horse, and her numbers are nowhere near close enough to compete with either Bottle of Rouge or Dazzling Dame.
I do think it's interesting that she is going to go the 1-turn.
Sure.
But I agree with you. I left her off my ticket. I mean, if she was 10-1, maybe I would have given her. No, that's being a bit dramatic. If she was
6-1, something like that.
6 to 8-1, I'd probably give her a bit of a longer look. But I didn't like her at 3-1 at all.
That's the thing to me. When I see a horse that's 3-1, I mean, listen, statistically, there's stuff that you could talk about in terms of what's the percentage chance of a horse winning that race. The gap between 5-2 and 3-1 between the price of Dazzling Dame and Hit Parade, no way. There's no way those two horses have nearly the same percentage chance of winning this race, in my opinion. I mean, those two horses are on different levels, and you could disagree with. You might want to play against Dazzling Dame. That's fine. But to say those two are almost nearly the same price is just not in the conversation, in my opinion. I don't understand that. So I think I think those numbers might correct themselves just with the betting public, and it'll be interesting to see if Hit Parade floats up, because I would imagine Bottle of Rouge and Dazzling Dame is going to take all the money in this race.
I think so too. So I definitely am trying to beat her here. I do think that Bottle of Rouge and Dazzling Dame are both better. I'm trying to beat Dazzling Dame at 5-2. So
No, it makes
certainly
sense.
Hit Parade at 3-1.
Yeah.
And I do think that Cadabra, I mean, that horse can take one step up and be on the same level. So
Yeah,
she's
she'll
double the price.
Yeah, no, she makes sense. I mean, she'll be third back from a pretty lengthy layoff, so third back in the form cycle. Absolutely could continue to move forward if she makes the same jump from race 1 to race 2 that she took. If she does that again, then she's absolutely in that conversation for sure. So we'll see how that plays out for the Virginia Oaks. But I think you and I both agree this is a skinnier leg of that pick 5 sequence. I mean, we're not spreading much here. I'm going 1-3. You're going 3-4, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I went 3-4 here and
Yeah.
just used two fillies, and certainly things can change after scratches. I think we both have a $64 ticket.
Yeah.
I went a little skinny in a couple legs because I didn't single anyone, but things can change after scratches. But
yeah,
pretty confident in trying to beat both the 1 and the 2 for me personally here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's go to the Virginia Derby. And Dennis said if we can get a brief recap. Dennis, we don't do anything brief here. This is very long form, okay? This is long form, Dennis. All right. And if you need to just record this and come back and watch it later, we can do that too. But no, we will give you some initial thoughts. My initial thought is this. I'm playing against a lot of favorites here. I'm playing against Butane. I'm playing against Confessional. I'm going to a price with Lock, Stock, and Pharaoh. In terms of my top selection, I am still spreading, though, quite a bit in this race. I think I'm using 4 horses in this particular leg in my preliminary ticket. Kaylie, I'm interested in kind of your thoughts on this race and kind of where your eye went in this Virginia Derby, which I feel is a great betting race.
I think Dennis meant of the last few Derby props, but I agree with you. This is an incredible betting race.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I think, we can run through this and then stick around at the end,
yeah.
and we should recap the last week.
Absolutely.
For sure.
If Dennis wants us to talk more, holy hell, say no more. I got a whole 12-pack of Mountain Dew out in the other room. Dennis, we could go all night. We could recap all this stuff. This is great. Now I'm excited. I thought Dennis was trying to shut me up. Little do I know, Dennis wants me to talk more. Fantastic. He probably wants you to talk more. I'll talk less. But this is a great betting race. I can't wait to talk in depth about it. But Kaylie, I'm going to let you take it away and lead us with what your thoughts are on this one.
Well, I thought it was an extremely interesting betting race. I thought that you have a few big prices in here that are pretty interesting. I mean, the 7 and the 10 for me, 2 horses that are pretty big prices that look dangerous. And then, I mean, we should start with from the rail out for sure, because I think every single horse in here is probably worth discussing. And I think this is the one race that me and you really, really differ on. So
we do. We have very different opinions. I'm kind of taking some crazy ideas with this one. But by the way, I want people to know in the comments, who are you playing in this Virginia Derby? Let us know. Drop in the comments how you're playing this Virginia Derby. Who's your top selection? Who do you see as the eventual winner? Because this is a field of 10 that's really interesting. 1 1/8 mile, 1-turn mile and an eighth. You don't see that configuration outside of Colonial, Belmont Park, and the Saudi Cup. Those are the only places you see that configuration. So it's a very unique configuration. Last year, American Promise basically didn't quite do a gate to wire, but basically pressured that Baffert horse into submission and then blew everybody away. Gonna be interesting. We do have to start with Butane. And I think your opinion of Butane really dictates how you end up playing this race in a few different ways. Breaking from the inside rail for Bob Baffert. I made the connect, when I wrote this one up, by the way, I love John's comment. I have no clue. He goes, that's why you're tuning in, John. We're going to hopefully give you a little bit of a clue, or at least give you some ideas that you can use. I made the comparison between Butane and Matticat Road. and hear me out. A talented horse who broke his maiden and then was probably placed in some races that were a little too tough, ran competitively, but could never win again. And that's kind of what Matticat Road was. And I just have a feeling if they keep Butane in these types of spots, that's what you're going to see from Butane, of a horse that can run a good race, that can run second or third in a graded stakes, but is a one-time winner. And at some point, you just go, what are you doing here? Now, listen, he's only 4 career starts. So I'm not going to try to, I'm not saying the die is cast on Butane, but it is a little bit interesting. Obviously, Bob shipping out here, trying to find maybe a little bit of a softer spot. But I don't know, Kaylie. I just, didn't really do much for me in the Southwest. And now we're stretching out even longer.
I don't think he's super. I think you can try to beat him here. For me personally, I have 4 horses on my ticket, so you best believe I have Bob Baffert's horse shipping in, especially when he's been running up against some tough horses as well. I mean, I don't know what the negative is that you can draw in really any of his races. He won on debut, then he ran second to Ted Noffey. Then he ran second to So Happy, and then he shipped to Oaklawn, and he ran third in the Southwest against a pretty good group of horses and a large group of horses. So I always think it's encouraging when you see a Bob Baffert horse leave California and run well, and I think that it's encouraging that he sends him back out to do the same thing again. They're definitely coming for points. I have him here. I think he's a legitimate win contender for sure. Don't blame you if you're trying to beat him. I don't love the 5-2 morning line price here. And if I thought that he was the clear-cut winner, I would have singled him. I do think there are some other interesting horses here. But if you look at his collective body of work, which is just 4 races, there's not too many holes that you could poke in him.
No, listen, he's a nice horse. And he's never run you could say he's never run a bad race. It's So Happy came back to finish third in the San Felipe. So that was fine. And that was stretching out. I think So Happy is probably better going around one turn. You saw Silent Tactic, who beat him in the Southwest, come back to run second by a nose in the Rebel. So that's a promising, though this runner-up, Soldier and Diplomat, finished a distant 5th in that race, though admittedly had a very wide run of things. So, I'm going to try to beat Butane in this spot, inside rail. He's a horse that has good speed, but not elite speed. And that inside rail, you never know how it plays out. If anybody kind of tries to shut him off early, we'll see. He doesn't have a ton of speed immediately to his outside, which probably helps him in that regard. But I am interested in, as Sean pointed out, the 5 and the 6. And I see some other people, Carolyn Baker, also interested in the 5, Johnny V for Will Walden. We'll start with that one, even though the 6 is my top choice and a horse that I'm really interested in. Although we see some people liking the 7 as well, who's a horse I know you're really high on with Incredibolt. High Camp is an interesting horse. The number 5, 9-2 in the morning line for Will Walden. Johnny V up. Nice works coming in. Lost in debut to Waymark. Tried to take him gate to wire and ultimately just faded a little bit. And was not able to get the job done, then stretched out and actually came from a little off the pace. That was with the assistance of Lasix, but the horse ran nearly the identical speed figure off Lasix and on Lasix, so I don't think that's going to be a huge factor here. The bigger factor I have is, this is a sire by Instagram, who I'm not out on as a sire, but it doesn't really have great numbers with 9 furlong runners. And so I am a little worried about that. There is a little bit more distance if you start digging on the female family underneath, but it's still a little light in that regard. And so I'm a little worried about High Camp getting that 1 1/8, but I do like Will Walden. I do like Johnny Velasquez. I do like the way this horse is running. Last out maiden winner, we'll see. 9-2 maybe is a little shorter than I would have liked. 6-1 is around the price I would like on this one.
Definitely. I think he's a little interesting. I do think Butane's your morning line favorite here. And then if you look past him or you look at the whole field, you can pick 4 random horses in here and make a pretty strong case for any of them, in my opinion. I do think that this race is pretty open. I know I have butane. Hopefully he floats up a bit, but I used 4 horses total. The number 5 wasn't one of them. I agree with the distance, the questions of distance. It's a big difference. I know it's only one turn, but 7 furlongs to a mile and an eighth, I think is
Yeah, that's
a
the other
big
thing. You're right.
jump.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
also, I mean, the horse ran with Lasix going 7 furlongs. So
yeah.
he didn't run with Lasix on debut. That's a bit of a concern switching off. And I know that Will Walden has good numbers, but he was one that I wasn't quite interested in at 9-2. It's a
Yeah.
big jump up, a mile and an eighth, but he
It
is
is a
one of
big jump
those.
up to a mile and eighth from 9 furlongs for sure.
Mhm.
And again, with that pedigree, it doesn't scream a mile and an eighth. Usually Instagrams would scream a mile. I mean, he's as a sire, he's got an average winning distance of 6.5 furlongs for his progeny. So that kind of tells you what type of sire he is. And if you infuse him underneath with a lot of distance, maybe there's something there. You certainly have an Uncle Mo influence underneath, which again is a good but not great distance influence. It's not like a Bernardini or a Blame or a Curlin or a Tappet or something like that where you'd see a lot more distance being infused underneath. So, going to be interesting. I'm a huge fan of this 6, Lock, Stock, and Pharaoh. Now, listen, they sent American Pharaoh to Japan. We'll litigate that another day. But I like this horse. I like this horse a lot for Tom Drury Jr., Edgar Morales up on the mount. I think this one could really move forward on dirt. And my logic was this is a horse for Tom Drury Jr. that just took a little while to develop. The horse had been working out over the main track at Churchill Downs in November. And listen, Drury Jr., he runs in that Midwestern circuit. And this horse in Kentucky in the winter, there's only one place to run, and that's
Mhm.
Turfway Park. So the horse runs at Turfway Park. And obviously, you're a American Pharaoh out of a Nyquist mare. You can handle synthetic, that's fine. There's no issue there. You can also handle dirt. There's no issue there. This horse had nice workouts at Churchill Downs over the main track, real nice workouts going back to November. I think this horse can handle both surfaces. The horse wins a restricted maiden special weight race in debut, coming from off the pace, passing horses easily, does it without Lasix going 6 furlongs, then steps up, gets Lasix against allowance optional claimers, and takes them gate to wire and wins by 8.25 lengths. So the horse is no slouch. You're getting 5-1. I'd like to get a little more, but you're at least getting 5-1. I think the horse is interesting in this spot, and I ultimately took a shot and put this horse up as my top selection in this race because I think there's upside potential, and maybe the horse improves even more on the dirt surface.
I like it. I mean, I remember you picked this horse pretty early in the week, and
I did, yeah,
definitely agree about the points on pedigree. I know the female family looks to be a lot of turf, but could go
yeah.
either way. And the horse has a lot of works at Churchill Downs, which is encouraging to see. And like I said, I mean, you can pluck a lot of horses out of here and make a pretty strong case with the exception of maybe 3 of them. So I do
Yeah.
think that this horse is interesting and will probably float up a little bit. Not one I have on my ticket, but you made a pretty interesting case.
I agree about, it's interesting. Um, Bob Baffert, Brad Cox, big names, right? Todd Pletcher's got 2 runners in this race. I don't think either of us really love Grittiness or Epic Desire in this particular spot. Grittiness, just please get this horse a win somewhere. But you look at the other names in this field in terms of trainers, Will Walden, Tom Drury Jr., Whit Beckman, Rudy Brissett. Listen, for those of us who play this game every day, those are really respected and well-known names. For your casual fan who's coming out to the Virginia Derby as their one big day a year in Virginia, they know Bob Baffert, they know Todd Pletcher, they know Brad Cox. Maybe they know Brad Cox. They definitely know Bob Baffert, though, and they know Todd Pletcher. I think we're going to get a much better price on the 5 and 6 because I think public money is not going to be there. People are going to hammer butane. They're going to hammer confessional. And I think the Pletcher runners are going to illogically take money because they're Todd Pletcher runners. So I think we're going to get a better price on the 5 and 6 than we might see on the morning line. Just my theory. I don't know.
Definitely. I'm eager to see the tote board, how the tote board's changing.
Yeah.
As I mean, it's the day of the race, and interested to see all of these horses in person too. I mean, that
Yeah.
could change a lot. Definitely eager to see a lot of them. I do think this is a very interesting field, and you have to include some prices here. I don't love 5-1, but you made a pretty strong case, and the horses run decent figures, should stack up
Yeah.
nicely against the field. So
Should. We'll see. I do want to point out a couple of things. Alex says, once again, he requests a live feed of Kaylee's paddock impressions before each race. We're going to work on that. We're going to work on that on Saturday. We're going to see if we can do something like that
well,
for sure in the paddock at Colonial.
definitely. I mean, this is my first time going to the track in, I think, like a month and a half. So I'm really excited to
Oh,
see
yeah.
some horses in the paddock. And
There have been some issues at Aqueduct that have prevented people. I've been working remotely this whole time, but even those of you all up in New York, there have been some issues at Aqueduct that have prevented us from being at the office. That is for that's for, Road to the Kentucky Derby. That's like for What's Happens Live with Andy Cohen. That's for like the after show. We'll talk about that. But
and
it'll be nice
we'll
to be
both be on
yeah.
site, so we'll have a lot of stuff going up on social throughout the
Yes.
day too.
Yes. And by the way, Carolyn pointed something out, which you and I talked about a little bit, which was, and we might have talked about it on our first look video. And she said, Johnny V usually on a Pletcher horse, and he's on the Will Walden horse here. And I remember talking to you about that a little bit. And I said, that tells you everything you need to know about the two Pletcher horses and the Will Walden horse.
Oh, 100%, especially when Rapoli
yeah.
owns one of the Pletcher horses.
Right.
Rapoli,
and the fact that Johnny's like, I'm going to go with Will.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So now John says, we're going to have a live feed on YouTube. Probably not. We are going to be on Twitter. So if you follow NYRA Bets on X at NYRA Bets, if you follow either of our individual handles, I'm at Failed to Menace, Kaylee's at Kaylee Shapiro 13. If you follow any of our feeds, you'll see some stuff there for sure. But listen, let's talk about a price that you like in this race. And I'm going to actually go get a prop while you do that. But I know you really like the number 7 Incredible, 10-1. And you're not alone, because I want to make sure I go back in Sean also here likes it, says this horse is better than he ran in the Holy Bull. And I know you agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think it says a lot that this horse is placed in this race after his effort in the Holy Bull, lost by the horse only ran into issues when he went down to Gulfstream Park. I mean, the horse was running pretty well in Kentucky. 2 nice races, his maiden breaking race, and then the Street Sense, 2 decent efforts. And I do think that the 1-turn configuration is going to help this horse out. I think it says everything that the horse ends up in a spot like this after the Holy Bull. And again, the horse really only ran into issues when he went down to Gulfstream Park. And that was his first race in a while. And he was a horse that I was always a little critical of, because it made sense to try to be critical of him if you look at the prices that he's gone off at in the past. But now we're getting him at 10-1. So
yeah,
I'm really interested in him here. And he clearly is training very well up to this race.
I hear you. For those wondering, and nobody I think is wondering what prop I got, I had to get my Nyquist hat. You see that? This is why I like Lock, Stock, and Pharaoh, because he's out of a Nyquist mare. I love Nyquist. So I got my little Nyquist hat.
Love it.
Thanks to the Darley folks. So I got that going on here. I'm looking pretty spiffy. I got a Cody's Wish hat in the closet as well. I could bust that out too, but none of his runners are on the track yet, but they will be, and they're going to be runners too. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see when the Cody's Wish horses start running. Listen, I agree with everything you just said. With all due respect to Nyquist, I'm going to take this off for the time being. I agree with everything you said about Incredible. The horse just ran, and Sarah El Badwi, our mutual friend, talks about this a lot. When a horse just runs so bad, you can't believe it. You just draw a line through it. You just go, okay, I'm going to rely on the other races this horse has to really dictate what I think this horse can do. And in the case of Incredible, listen, he's a grade 3 winner going 2 turns at Churchill in the Street Sense. And there should be a decent amount of pace in this race. This horse should be coming from off the pace and should be getting a better setup. I do sometimes worry about the Bolt Doros getting a little bit longer. I do think he's probably better at a mile in terms of as a sire. But still, I think Incredible makes a ton of sense. And if you give me anywhere near 10-1, I think that's outstanding value for this horse. So I'm a big fan of Incredible. in this particular spot. I think he's working out well. So agree with everything you said about him in this particular spot. So I think the setup is going to work well, and definitely a value play there. Now, the number 8 confessional, Brad Cox, again, Irad Ortiz Jr. with a little bit of an asterisk. We'll wait and see. Definitely be paying attention to what we hear over the next 12 to 24 hours regarding his status for Saturday's racing after the spill today at Gulfstream Park. Fortunately, he's up, alert, fine, in the grand scheme of things, but might be sore. Confessional coming out of a real lackluster performance in the Sam F. Davis, and before that, lost to nearly going 7 furlongs with Lasix. Now getting his blinkers added, an essential quality. I don't know. Nothing about this horse makes me excited to want to bet on this one. I don't know. At 4-1 just felt like too short of a price, but that's me.
I put him on my ticket here. I think that he should be
I know
pretty
you do.
tough. I think he's interesting just because, 4-1, I think is a pretty decent price on a Brad Cox horse. And
Well, that's true.
obviously
Yeah.
we'll find out and be on the edge of our seats waiting for news on Irad Ortiz. Obviously hope that and praying for him and that everything's okay. But this horse, I think, is interesting, even more so if he's riding. Even if not, I'll probably still leave him on my ticket because he put together 2 pretty good races, his first 2 races. He lost to nearly in his second start after breaking his maiden on debut. And anytime that I see a horse win on debut, going 7 furlongs at
Sure.
Keeneland specifically, it always speaks to class. So I definitely think that this horse has that. And the horse ran an 85 and 88, and then in the Sam F. Davis, first time going a mile and a 16, stretching out, that's a big step up. This horse, regressed a little bit, running up against Renegade, the Puma who we saw come back to win last weekend, coming out of that same race. So this horse is getting blinkers on. I do think that Brad Cox is dangerous anywhere, but also has a lot of success at Colonial Downs too, if you look at his stats. So for sure, I was interested in this horse. I thought 4-1 was a decent price.
Yeah, you and I are just going to disagree on this one. I just think maybe this horse likes one turn. I don't know. That Sam F. Davis performance, he had the inside pocket trip. It seemed like he had the ideal trip and just didn't it just faded. Maybe you're right. Second time doing a little bit longer, second time doing a distance. Maybe you're going to see a little bit of an improvement there. And essential quality, listen, we like essential quality as a sire. We think, he's going to be able to get more distance from his runners. So
also it's interesting because they took the blinkers off in the Sam F. Davis. He ran with blinkers in his first 2 start.
Yeah.
And then they took the blinkers off in the Sam F. Davis. That's the only race that isn't up to par with the field, and now he's getting blinkers back on. So
yeah,
definitely prefers that equipment. I like seeing them come back on.
You would think that, yeah. No, that's a good point. You get the blinkers back, and maybe that, snaps everything right back into shape. That I've been skeptical of nearly, so to some extent, confessional is a little bit getting by. I'm a little biased against that. The outside draw probably helps a little bit more too, potentially, rather than being stuck on the rail. Like he was in the Sam F. Davis. So, Sean, I think that's a fair point to make. We don't have any updates on Irad. The only update that I saw was a quote from Caton Brader, who said that Irad had told her, even though he had been complained to the medics about some pain in his hip, he had said to her that he is okay. So that is the last I heard. There's no official word on any prognosis. I know Bill Finley from Thoroughbred Daily News reached out to his agent. His agent just said they're still awaiting test results, so we will see. And we should mention, James pointed this out, Serena Song just recently passed away. Rest in peace to Serena Song. Very sad to see. Truly a Hall of Fame horse. Great horse. And yeah, listen, the confessional, we'll see. He's gonna beat me. I'm gonna let him beat me in this particular spot, and we'll see. I know Siggy Mendoza, who watches our stream sometimes, he likes Ocelli, the number 9. I couldn't get there on this one, but you like the Rudy Brissett horse a little bit. You like Clocker Special, the number 10 on the far outside for Rudy here. 8-1 in the morning line with Christian Torres aboard. I know you even went back and you told me you were watching some of this previous races and you liked what you saw.
Yeah, I thought that that last race at Oaklawn, first off the bench, first race in a while. I mean, prior to that, this horse hadn't run since July of last year. So good to see him put in a decent effort first off the bench. And I thought he ran a good second to Honey's to Blame, who obviously took a step up and faced Stakes Company
Well, yeah.
and regressed. But I mean, this horse, that was just his for his first start off the bench. I love his pedigree. He's a Not This Time, who's, in my opinion, the best sire right now, period. So I always pay close attention to that. Out of a Blame mare, has a lot of pedigree, should handle the distance, and certainly going around one turn. Pretty good tactical speed too. So I like this horse. I thought that visually the race at Oaklawn was a little bit more impressive than what the figures show. So
I
I'm
think
just gonna
that
take a shot at 8-1.
yeah, sure. Listen, I'm not gonna talk you off it. Second back from that long layoff, you'd expect a little bit better performance and a move forward, and you draw the far outside. And in this race, that's not a bad place to be because of the one turn configuration. So I know Dennis here says he thinks Ocelli is weirdly interesting too, and made that middle move last time. It's going to be interesting to see with some of these bigger prices and again, maybe we're all overthinking it. Maybe it's as simple as Bob Baffert comes to town and he wins both these races, and everybody goes, "Oh, well, we tried to be smart and tried to beat the Hall of Famer." But I think in this race, maybe more so than in the Virginia Oaks, you can make a really strong case against the favorite, and I think that you can, even if you want to include butane in your tickets, you could still, make a case against him in this particular spot. So. Virginia Derby, very interesting race. I'm ultimately going with
Mm-hmm.
Lock, Stock, and Pharaoh as my top choice. Going to take a little bit of a shot there with that one as a long shot ish type of a pick. But listen, there's still one more race in the pick five sequence, and that is the bailout race. And this is a mile and a 16th going. Let's see if I can get this back. No, remove that. Add this. There we go. Now we're cooking, Kaylie. All right. We're going a mile and a 16th on the dirt because they're all on the dirt, and a $150,000 optional claimer. And this is, I thought, a pretty fun race. I took a long look at the number 2 Steez. I thought that's an interesting horse for Riley Mott. I thought Dr. Rumid M was a little bit interesting for Doug O'Neill. I thought a horse like Freedom Road was a bit interesting. I really like the number 7 McLean's Rook at 5-2 for Mike Trombetta. I'm going to try to beat the number 8, Lure Him In, as my top choice. But I feel like there's a few different places to go in this one, Kaylie. Interested in kind of where you ultimately landed in this race.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also trying to beat the 8 here, and we both really like the 7 McLean's Rook, so should probably start there. A horse that's I put on my ticket immediately, just use 2 here. I do think
Yeah.
that the 7's pretty interesting. I mean, if you look 2 back, really love that race coming into
Yeah.
this, and the horse has put together 4 really good races on the dirt, and used to the circuit, coming in for a decent trainer over on this circuit too.
Yeah.
So I think he should be pretty tough and sit a nice trip here.
I agree. I mean, I really like that race 2 back. You look at a horse like Quince Brew, who this one lost to in that race by less than a length. Quince Brew is a horse that almost beat
Mm-hmm.
Bishop's Bay back in the Westchester, and nearly won the Grade 2 Carter against Crazy Mason. I mean, Quince Brew's a nice horse who's followed up with multiple stakes wins since then. So losing to that one, no disrespect there. And then last time out, ran a pretty good race and beat some horses that are halfway decent. Beat a horse like Omaha, who ran today in a stakes race at Colonial,
Mm-hmm.
ran against Certified Lover Boy, who's a nice horse, who we've seen a bunch up in Aqueduct over the years, run some decent races. Indy Charges On is a nice enough horse who this one lost to. I agree with you. I think this one's put together some nice races on the dirt, since switching surfaces. Mike Trombetta, always dangerous in the Mid-Atlantic, Maryland bred. Definitely like this one a lot as a top choice. And yeah, Laura, man, I'm going to try to beat this horse. I mean, listen, he's a war horse, 9 years old, 57 starts, 11 wins. It's been
Mm-hmm.
a minute since he won. He's coming off a little bit of a freshening, hasn't run in about 2 months. But it's, again, a horse that does finish second a lot. and I'm just going to try to beat in this particular spot as a top choice. Does have Flavian Pride aboard, which is always dangerous, but we'll try to beat him a little bit here. And I'm a fan of this number 2 as well for Riley Mott Stees. I think this is an interesting horse. Coming out of some nice races at Gulfstream Park and now stepping up here. I don't know, Kaylie, did you look at this one? I forget if you went 2-7 or if you went 4-7 in this leg.
I went 2-7 here. I
Okay,
also have
that's
the
what I
2
thought.
on my ticket. I think that 9-2 is a really good price on this horse coming in for Riley Mott. And I do think that this horse is spotted really well, running up against a field of horses. Like you mentioned, I think that the 8 is pretty beatable here. A horse that's had a very long career and
Yeah.
hasn't been in the winner circle in a bit. So I do think you can look towards some prices. I do think the 7 is going to be tough, but out of everybody else, I really like the 2 here. Has good tactical speed, and last race and the race before that, I think are both good enough to win or really compete here. So I like the 2 here. 9-2 is a really good price on this horse.
I agree. This horse can come from a little off the pace, doesn't need to be up in the lead, and should be sitting a pretty good trip. Though we'll have to deal with the inside or a further inside post position. Obviously, has a couple of races that are good enough to run here or win here. I would think. I will talk a little bit about the number 4, Dr. Ruben M, who's a little bit of a long shot for Doug O'Neill. I thought this horse was a little bit interesting at the very least, coming off a huge win in allowance competition at Mahoning Valley, and was a horse that I remember from last year in the Derby preps and the Springboard Mile and the Sam F. Davis, was kind of over his head in those races. But now this feels like the right spot, kind of having Lasix, running in an optional claiming 50. The horse has good speed, can pass horses, but probably has enough speed to get up close to the pace. So I'm a big fan of this one at 8-1. I thought was a little bit interesting if you're going to take a swing in this particular race. But I really like the 2 and the 7. I know some people are talking about the 6, the fact that Irad Ortiz Jr. picks up that mount again. Irad's won on this horse twice before, admittedly against maybe slightly lesser competition, optional claiming 16 and optional claiming 20 down at Gulfstream Park. But it is encouraging to see Irad want to ride this horse again after riding this horse 3 of the last 5 races. So, that's definitely one to consider. But from a number standpoint, it's probably just a cut below where some of these others might be in this particular race.
I completely agree. I think overall this sequence is really good, and we both I think have a $64 ticket.
We do.
Can show them how
We
we're
can
playing
indeed
it,
show them.
how we're playing it
Beautiful.
here, and then certainly there will be some changes after scratches on Saturday, and some things can change around depending on who, but I
Yeah.
think that this is a really fun sequence to play, and I don't have a single anywhere. Maybe I'll land on one after scratches, but I thought that you could catch some prices in some races, and it's worth it to spend an extra 10, 15 to me, to also include a big price along with the favorite and hope I catch that. So it's a fun sequence.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And I think this is a great example of you and I having different ticket structures. Both tickets cost $64. Different ticket structures, different opinions on different races, and yet we both ended up with the same total. And you don't have a single. I do have a single. I went really spready in the first leg. You did too. We had very similar tickets in that first leg, and then we kind of deviate a little bit. Where I single Eunomia in for Safi in that second leg. You go 1-6 with Queen Azteca. Then in the next leg in the Virginia Oaks, I'm going Dazzling Dame and Bottle of Rouge. You're going Bottle of Rouge and Cadabra. Then we both spread quite a bit in the Virginia Derby, but we don't spread in the same directions necessarily. We do have the overlap of the 1 and the 8, but I'm going with the 5 and the 6. You're adding the 7 and 10 in there. And then in the final leg, I spread a little bit more, including that Dr. Ruben M. I'm still including Lorem in here. That's probably going to be the last horse off my ticket in some ways if I need to kind of trim down a little bit more. You're just going 2-7 in that leg. So listen, this is a lot of fun. And like I said, a couple of, I thought, affordable tickets, certainly playing that late pick 5.
For sure. And we'll provide updated tickets after scratches on Saturday. And I know personally, I'll probably play, a cheap a cheap late pick 5-2 along with my main ticket, just
Absolutely.
to really key in on those horses that I think are going to run really well. So I think there's a few you can pick out on the card and a couple different ways you could play it. So it's going to be a
I
lot of fun.
agree. I agree that you could play this sweet sequence for $18, I think.
Hmm.
And you could also play it for 64. And I don't think
Hmm.
either is wrong. It just depends what your bankroll is. It depends what your opinions are. But it is going to be a fun sequence for sure. I do want to give Felipe, thank you so much. He said, I love how confident Matt and Kaylie are. They've earned it. Gave me winners and tips every single week. Felipe, thank you so much for the nice comments. It's very kind of you. And yeah, listen, I used to be a college professor. You got to be confident. You know, if the students would pick up on that. And Kaylie, you're a little bit closer in age to a college student these days. But when you were in college and when you were taking degrees in marketing and doing all sorts of stuff, if a professor came in the first day and said, I don't know, I guess we'll go to page 47 in our text, but you go, what's this person know? What's this guy know? Forget this guy. I don't know what he's talking about. You got to be confident. If you're not confident, forget about it. You got to have a confident opinion. You can't be wishy-washy in this sport, right?
100%.
Right or wrong. Right or wrong, as our friend Nick Zito would say. Right or wrong.
Right or wrong. Right or wrong.
It's the very nature of it. More importantly, Kaylie, Sean wants to know, did you pick out a name for the hard spun colt? Ooh.
No, I'm not allowed to name that one. He's probably going to the sales, unfortunately. Hopefully, but really thankful to keep the mage, and obviously excited to have the full until he potentially goes to the sale.
Yeah.
It's fun even just for that short time period, probably about a year-ish. So
Yeah, no, it'll be fun to see him go through the sale. I know you'll keep people updated on social media. For people who don't know, Kaylie has a mare, High Gloss, who's got a real extensive family. What is the half to wet paint, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that?
no, they're like cousins, but
cousins to wet paint.
we got her
Who is a
from
nice Oaks horse.
Darley, so yeah, a
Yeah.
few family members in there that definitely recognize from the track. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I mean, all the names people have provided me on social media, I'm definitely going to keep updating every horse we get. I mean, I get amazing ideas from everybody on names, which is super helpful. So
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I hear you. By the way, Alex says, don't forget to play the Dominion pick 6 for 50 cents. Absolutely. That's always a fun wager. And best bet in the 5 races. Oh, that's interesting. If I had to go with the best bet in the 5 races for somebody who doesn't necessarily play a pick 5, I'm going to think about that for a minute. But I do really like running away, probably, as that might be my best bet out of those. Running away in race 6, the number 3. I do feel pretty strongly about that horse running a big race there. But I also really like the 7 in the last leg as well. Those are kind of the 2 that really stand out. And I listen, I really do like my 6 in the Virginia Derby, but I'd say the 3 in the Sandy Bottom in the race 6 and the 7 in the race 10 are probably the 2 I have the strongest opinion about. I don't know. That's just me off the top of my head.
for sure, an exact off the top of my head, one that we talked about. I'm pretty sure it was in the first leg, the first division of the Sandy Bottom. Yeah, we like the 3 over the 4, running away over the 4.
And the
So
Malfi
that's
Drive.
a good
Yeah.
exacta. And then I also like the 3 over the 4 in the Virginia Oaks too.
There you go. Couple of exactas. That's what John was just asking for Kaylie to give out exactas. She's giving out exactas. You're doing it without even people knowing. And so, listen, this is what we got here. This is our tickets. We'll update it post scratches. We might even we could do a head-to-head graphic on social. We could do a head-to-head late pick 5 here. See what people ever say. Now, listen, if you're not playing NYRA Bets already, we got to give it one more plug. If you're not playing NYRA Bets already, stop it. Get over here, open an account, and use the promo code LIVE20. This is just for you all watching, not for anybody else, and it's only good until post time Saturday, okay? So if you go to racing.nyrabets.com/sign-up-bonus/live20, you get a free $20 bet, no questions asked. You use the $20 however you want. Use it all at once, use a little bit at a time, do $10 show bets like my dad would, whatever you want. Okay. So that's there for you. And it's going to be a great sign up offer. So make sure to use it. If you're not playing on NYRA Bets already, use that promo code LIVE20 to get that free $20 bet. And if you already are a member on NYRA Bets, Kaylie, Derby Bankroll Builder, right?
Yes, bet $50 on one horse in the Virginia Derby this week, and you're going to get $20 back no matter what. And you can keep building that up in a couple of the prep races we have from now till the Derby, and you can go into the Derby with like 100 extra dollars. So definitely love that promo. And before we go, for sure, should give just a couple points on the races last weekend quickly.
Yeah, well, no, quickly, A, I'm putting my stylish Nyquist hat back on. B, I'm pointing out to Alex that, in fact, we did have Diet Mountain Dew on this episode. He seemed to think that we went without it. My friend, no. We do not do anything without Diet Mountain Dew. I also had 3 little Reese's Pieces cups, just as little snacks, while Kaylie was talking about Bob Baffert. And so that's what I was doing. But yes, a little bit of a recap. I agree. Of last week. Last week feels like a year and a half ago. So last week we had, what races did we have, Kaylie? Remind me. We had the race out west. We had the San Felipe, right?
Yeah, and then we had the
Tampa Bay Derby, right? We had the Puma.
Las Virgenes too.
Yeah, we had the Las Virgenes.
Forced entry, won that.
Yeah,
love it. Love that filly. I think that she should, if she continues to improve. I mean, that's another one with a really big pedigree. I loved her debut. I loved her, everything about that filly. So I hope she continues to improve. Love what I saw from her. And then we saw the Puma. I thought was super impressive. And I hate to say it, you guys, because not to take anything away from the Puma, he's a really cool horse, and definitely rooting for him. I put him on my Derby list there, and I thought that he ran really well. Was wide, the entire way.
Yeah, he was.
And I thought that he finished up pretty strongly, but I can't lie. As soon as he crossed the wire, I was jumping up and down because the Chief beat him. So Chief is looking pretty good at this point. And I just love having a horse that, you're really excited about and love to root for. So it's cool to see all these horses come back and run, and, they have common horses they've run up against before, and helps you really lock down your opinion on this group of Derby horses.
Absolutely. And listen, I just to kind of echo some of your sentiments on this, we'll start with the Tampa Bay Derby. Yeah, the Puma ran, I thought, a really nice race. Was initially assigned a 95 buyer speed figure. And then people called each other and they said, that's too fast. We can't give that horse a 95 buyer speed figure. And they said, no, we'll give him an 89. I don't care what number you give the horse. It turns out maybe he did have a little bit of a troubled trip in the Sam F. Davis. I know some people who believe in trip handicapping didn't think that was the case. That's silly. But if anybody watches that, a horse has never won. Second career start, first time around 2 turns. He's in between horses taking kickback. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's 101 where I don't want a young horse to be. So yes, it was a troubled trip. Turns out you give that horse a wide trip in the clear. Hey, he can run a little bit. Yes, we know that. So he's a talented horse. Certainly didn't look over his head at all. Looked really professional there. Canaletto, everybody goes, oh, Canaletto was wide. The Puma was wider. What the hell's everybody talking about here? And then you got people going, oh, there should have been an inquiry. Stop it. There was no inquiry. It didn't change the order of finish at all. Okay? So a lot of people are filled with hot air. No, stop it, Kaylie. Don't now. I'm on a roll. Don't now. The Diet Mountain Dew's kicking in. Now it's time for you to sit back and listen. So listen, we're going on a roll here, and I have a lot of grudges that I'm holding on. So listen, the Puma, you don't want to take anything away from him, but I agree with you. It flatters the Chief. It absolutely flatters the Chief. It flatters Renegade, who beat him in the Sam F. Davis. So that's another feather in the Renegade's cap. And if you want to play 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it flatters Paladin, who beat Renegade in the Remsen. So listen, it flatters a lot of horses. The Puma. I like the Puma a lot. Do I think he's at 1.25 miles? We'll see. I like that horse a lot, though. I find myself rooting for the connections. I know we know some people associated with that horse in some ways. So Definitely liked that horse a lot. Thought that horse ran very, very well. And listen, I thought Canaletto ran well. I thought Further Ado ran well. I thought they all ran well, those top three.
Oh
Canaletto, I
yeah,
think. Further Ado, we're going to see in the Bluegrass, and that's going to be a good race.
absolutely. And I thought that that was a good effort first off the bench. We hadn't seen him for a bit before.
Yeah. No, I think so too. And then out west, that was, Potente, getting the win over his stablemate and over Robusta, who was a 60-1 long shot for Doug O'Neill. But you pointed out that's a nice horse. That's a Claiborne bred and owned horse, Robusta. And Doug O'Neill said, hey,
Calumet.
the blinker, Calumet, that's right. The blinkers made all the difference in the world. They put blinkers on that horse, really perked the horse up. But Potente, $2.4 million. Yeah, that you see what you paid for. That was a nice effort there. Again, not a huge speed figure. I think another 89, but still a good effort there for the Bob Baffert trainee. Boyd, or Brandt, I should say, one turn. I just think one turn for that
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But I thought Potente really excited me. I put him 10th on my Derby list after that effort.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like Potente a lot there. And then, listen, I want to give you a lot of credit. You were on forced entry for a while. You liked that horse a lot for Baffert in the Las Virgenes, or not the Las Virgenes, but the Santa Isabel on Sunday. And she really came through. I thought her super professional effort, ran really, really well. And man, Bob Baffert's got a strong hand in the Kentucky Oaks. And I'll tell you this, the West Coast has a strong hand in the Kentucky Oaks because you got Meaning sitting out there waiting in the Santa Anita Oaks as well, in addition to Explora, in addition to forced entry. So there's some nice West Coast fillies that I'm very excited to see come east for that race.
Oh, I completely agree with everything you just said. West Coast is loaded this year with fillies, and same with Baffert, even definitely more so than the Derby. I think, Baffert holds a really strong hand in the Oaks this year.
Yes, he does. No, he absolutely does. So I thought it was interesting weekend of racing. I thought that, it didn't shake much up in terms of the upper tier of my rankings. It wasn't like, oh, all of a sudden I'm moving the Puma up to number 2 or something like that. The Puma made my top 10. Forced Entry made my top 10, Potente made my top 10, sure. But none of those horses really popped up and was like, oh my God, this is my Derby or Oaks horse necessarily, though I'm eager to see where each of them go next and how they run next time out. Very excited for that. And listen, just continues to add to the intrigue and continues to add to that, just what a fun Derby and Oaks season it is. And we're going to have our Virginia Derby, Virginia Oaks this weekend. And then Kaylie next week, 100 pointers. That's going to be exciting. That's when the rubber hits the road and we really see the contenders from the pretenders.
Oh, for sure. Cannot wait.
Can't wait. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Kaylie and I are going to be down in Kentucky for a little bit in April too. That's the rumor. We're going to be in Kentucky in April a little bit. How much, we'll see. But we're definitely going to be in Kentucky in April. We're going to be down there final week of Keeneland for sure. Might be there for a little bit longer than that, but we're definitely going to be covering the lead up to the Derby and Oaks. But every week we're going to be right here on YouTube with all of that good stuff and all of these preps and previews. We'll have recap shows on Sunday, Mondays. We'll have first look previews early in the week as well. We'll have our official picks and analysis this time, every single week. And so we're going to have you covered from now through the Triple Crown, then into Saratoga, then into the Breeders' Cup. We got you covered here on NYRA Bets. Kaylie, scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to see Colonial Downs on Saturday?
Oh, a 10. Obviously, I'm so excited to see it. Never been there, and lots of exciting horses running on the card.
Lots of exciting horses running on the card for sure, not just up top, but like I said, we got Dragoon Guard running in that New Kent County Stakes, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And listen, just a really great day of racing out there, and should be better weather. No snow in the forecast on Saturday, that's for sure. So listen, thanks so much, folks, for tuning in to this live stream on the road to the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. Make sure to press that like button and subscribe on NYRA Bets YouTube today. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Really does mean a lot. To everybody who watches, we had almost 300 people here hanging out in the chat. Definitely is something I appreciate. I know Kaylie appreciates. We love this community that we have in horse racing. We love this community on horse racing YouTube, and cannot thank you guys enough for all the well wishes this week. We're going to be back. We're going to be cashing some tickets on Saturday, whether they be on gray horses, bay horses, or anything in between. We're going to be cashing tickets. Kaylie, I just want to say we want to wish people a great and prosperous day at the races. And reminding you, friends, it is now
Post time.
You're damn right it is.